Welcome to another TreelineFX video. Here we're going to look at our forecasting tool, and this is an interesting way to exploit our currency indexes. In particular, it takes advantage of the interchangeability between currency pair prices and our indexes, and the ability to move freely between them. One of the problems with forecasting currency pairs is that there are consistency rules that are hard to maintain. Consider the example of a GBP USD, USD CAD, and GBP CAD. These three pairs have a triangular relationship that must be maintained. And if you forecast separately on each pair, the chances of maintaining that relationship are pretty much zero. What we do instead is run the forecasts on the currency indexes. For example, this is the GBP chart, and we have our 10-week history of data, and then we create our forecast. We do the same on the USD index with the 10 weeks of historical data, and we create our forecast for that. And then we combine those two forecasts to get our forecast for the pair. We never actually run the forecasting tool on the GBP USD pair itself. This means that the currency pair relationships are going to be enforced. And so we can switch over to the Australian dollar and the US dollar pair, and we get a new forecast. This is calculated by combining the previous USD forecast that we looked at and the forecast created on the Australian dollar index. Again, the forecast was not created on the pair itself. It was just created by combining the Australian and the USD index forecasts. So we use a 10-week history in our forecasts, and we find this is necessary to overcome the high frequency movements which are typical of market data. The algorithm that we're using here is called singular spectrum analysis, and it captures trends, oscillations, noise, and other subcomponents. So what do we use forecasts for anyway? The forecast is an artifact of the data that was used to create it. It's an extrapolation of the modeling you've done on that data. It doesn't really tell you what's going to happen in the market and shouldn't be interpreted in that way. Its purpose is to better inform you about the nature of the market you're already in. In this case, we can see the forecast is a gentle downtrend without a lot of oscillation going on. And that's consistent with the data used to create it. It tells you something about the nature of the market that you've been in, and that can be helpful with decision making. Other forecasts often show wild oscillation movements, and that can suggest a riskier market, and maybe that caution is needed. A forecasting tool again has this chart inversion option, and this is helpful when looking at the second part of the currency pair, the USD. In this case, we flip it to the inverse, and that allows us to make a more direct comparison about the influence of each underlying index on the resulting currency pair. So here, the Australian index is a fairly gentle short movement. The USD index has short movement, and the result is what we see here in the currency pair. And we also have this useful tool here where you can look at previous forecasts, and again, this is helpful to understand the nature of the market that you're already in and have been in. In this example here, we see the Australian dollar index was forecasting heavily in the long direction. But as time went by, the market data wasn't supporting this anymore, and the forecast moved more to an oscillating signal that flattened out. And on the USD index, we can see a consistent short forecast over time. These historical forecasts and how they evolve over time can be helpful to understand the nature of the market that you're in. So that's our forecasting tool. Again, this is available through the API and available in these charts. In the next video, we'll look at the levels tool, where we take support and resistance lines on the currency index charts themselves and use that to create areas of hidden support and resistance in the currency pair. So we'll see you then.